Hi and welcome to the webinar for electrical installation and construction at IMTech, which is part of the Knowsley Community College campus. My name is Linda Manning and I'm here just to host the event for you as well, and the person that you'll be more interested in hearing is Nathan Hallams, and he's here and he's going to talk in detail about the course. So just to explain the rules, if you like, of how this is going to work, the attendees, so yourselves, future students, are all on mute, so we can't hear you, we can't see you, we can just see your name so we are aware that you're here. You are also cannot see or hear each other. So the only people that you'll see on the screen today is myself, Linda, and Nathan in a little short while. The chat facility is on the right hand side. You'll see I've already put my email address in there. So we will have the chance to ask questions via the chat facility. But if afterwards you think of something when you're back sort of away from the webinar, please just contact us in the details there and we will get back to you. So I'm just going to give a very short presentation generally about college now. So you're here for the webinar all about Knowsley Community College. Let's move my tab along here. Applications are still open. Now, depending on what your situation is, it may be that you applied before lockdown and attended for interview and already have your offer of a place. In that case, brilliant. We know all about you. You may have applied since lockdown, in which case you'll be contacted, and you may have already been contacted by one of the tutors just to make sure that we've got all the correct details and find out a little bit more about you. But crucially, if you haven't yet applied and you think potentially that you might like to come to Knowsley as a result of looking at the webinar, the details of how to do that are on the bottom of this screen. So that's knowsleycollege.ac.uk, and there is a tab on there for apply. These are the other courses available. At IMTech, so the Institute of Advanced Manufacturing and Technology campus, which is where we are now, we run construction, electrical installation, plumbing, mechanical engineering. So although you're just going to hear about the one tutor here, Nathan, who teaches electrical installation, we do run all of these other courses. We also offer a number of apprenticeships, if that's what you're interested in. And the best way to find out a little bit more about that is by accessing our apprenticeship guide. That is also via the web page, knowsleycollege.ac.uk, and then there is a tab there for apprenticeships and a sub-hub there for job shop, and that is any live apprenticeships which we have. A little bit about college pays. So as long as you're 16 to 18, which most people who are accessing the webinar are, you'll get your course fees for free. You'll get a free breakfast, and that is as long as you are here in good time for your lessons. So generally, if you have a 9 o'clock start, we'd expect you to be here ready for lessons at 10 to 9. We have a number of free college buses which run on different routes straight into the campus and can take you home at the end of the day. And point 4 there is you'll also get a free college bus pass, maybe Mersey Travel, maybe Arriva Travel, dependent upon where you live. So you can travel on public transport term time to make sure you can get to all of your lessons on time. There's a free Microsoft Office 365 package and student discounts. This slide is showing our safeguarding and wellbeing team. Crucially, we are aware that it's been a very strange time for everybody this year, but especially in Year 11 when your education's being cut short, you may be being denied access to your prom. Hopefully they'll come along in the future, to be honest. But also there's been a big gap between March and when you will be starting with us in September. So some people may have particular needs here, maybe feel particularly anxious. These people on this screen are part of the wellbeing team at college and can help you overcome any difficulties. So if you feel as though you may like some help with transition, we can put you in touch with these people now. And as I say, my email is already being listed on the chat facility. And finally, this is the Get Social banner. We are communicating with students via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and via the web page. Now it's crucial we have your up-to-date email address and telephone number, because that will be how we are communicating with you to let you know what enrolment is going to look like. And at the moment, we have run quite a few of these events. One of the questions which does come up is, what does enrolment, how will enrolment work, what will it look like? We are being guided constantly by what the government is telling schools and colleges. So at the moment, we don't definitely know what it will look like, but rest assured it will be happening and there will be learning taking place from September. It's likely to be a mix of some sort of online activity as well as physically being in college. But as I say, at the moment, we're not actually sure of the details, but please make sure we do have your correct email, we do have your correct phone number so that we can communicate when we do know more. Okay, now I'm going to pass you over to Nathan, who's going to explain a little bit more about electrical installation.
Hello, so my name is Nathan Hallam. I'm one of the tutors, one of the electrical tutors at IMTech. And I'm just going to show you a little presentation just to give you some basic information about the course. You know, a normal day we'd show you around the workshop so you can have a look, see what you're going to be doing. But I'm just going to talk briefly about the course just in case you've not been to one of our open days yet. Bear with me a second while I share screen. Okay, so obviously this is the electrical installation section. Okay, so in this campus we offer 2 full-time courses alongside the apprenticeships. Now, these courses are level 1, and the entrance criteria for this course is a grade 3 or above in Maths and English GCSEs. We have the level 2, and the entrance criteria for that is a grade 4 or above in Maths GCSEs. And if you've got the older GCSEs, that was a D or above for the level 1 and C or above for the level 2. Okay, and regardless of grades, we do still expect either a good reference or a school report along with these grades. So if you could, usually you'd bring them down with you on enrolment day, but I think in this case, bringing them along to on induction, that's probably the best way to do it now because we're not going to see you physically on enrolment. Okay, so these courses, just to be clear, these are designed for those who wish to progress into the field of electrical installation, and that's really for electricians. Okay, so there's plenty of fields out there. Some people specialize, some people might get into telecoms, into, I don't know, so I've known people to work on oil rigs, renewable energy. There's lots of different fields you can get into, everything from domestic electricians all the way up to industrial. So we concentrate in 3 areas, but we don't necessarily say it's one or the other. We concentrate all 3. We have domestic, commercial, and industrial. So domestic is the sort of thing you see in a house or flats, anything like that. Commercial is, you know, shops, supermarkets, anything like that. And industrial would be like factories and things. Now, we don't spend as much time on industrial because that tends to be higher voltage systems, but we do still cover it and we do still talk about it in lessons. Okay, so both the level 1 and the level 2 courses run typically over 3 days. So you've got 2 days free, and we would encourage you in those days to do a little bit of part-time work, or if you can, you know, work experience that relates to your course. So we say 3 days, but what often happens is you'll have a morning or afternoon off on one of those days. So really it's more like 2.5 days that you're in college. Okay, and if you do have an apprenticeship, you come to us 1 day a week and you work for the rest of the week, obviously earning money while you're doing that. Okay, so moving on. What we have here is quite a modern campus. We're well equipped. The workshop is really well equipped, and it's something that we really pride ourselves on. Okay, no matter which course you do, whether it's electrical or any of the other construction courses, you're going to have a mixture of theory and practical lessons. Okay, and depending on which course it is, it might be more theory or more practical. So in the case of level 1, I'd say it's slightly more practical than theory. Level 2, it's about 50-50. And we'll talk more about level 3 later, but when you get onto level 3, it's predominantly theory. Okay. We've also recently renovated the comport, which is like a tin building outside, I suppose you could describe it. And we've got some additional bays out there for construction trades. Now, it's a bit chilly in the winter, but it's a very good environment for practicing outdoors. Okay. And I just briefly want to talk about skills development as well. So this is something we've offered now for a few years, and it's something a lot of our learners really enjoy and they find it really useful. So you come to us to study, in this case, electrical installation, or you might come to us for plumbing or any of the other trades that you might get into. But skills development is a way to try and broaden your skills in different areas. So for example, if you're going to be an electrician, you're not just going to be working with wires all day, you're going to get involved with different trades. And it might be the case that you're going to have to pay different trades to come out and do a small job. Whereas if you know how to do it yourself, you save money, you make more of a profit, and it's faster for the customer. Okay, so for example, some of the trades that you're likely to be involved with, so aside from electrical, you're going to learn little bits of plumbing, bits of carpentry, and by finishing skills, I mean perhaps things like plastering, so you can make good after you've been chasing walls, or it could be bits of like painting, so if you do have to make good after what you've done, it just saves you having to get other trades in to do minor little jobs to tidy up after yourself. Okay, and this is something that's really enjoyable. We have some excellent tutors in all these areas, and it's something that our learners do tend to really enjoy. Okay, and something I've just put on there as well. Electric showers, they're very popular, and they're generally installed by electricians, not really by plumbers, electric showers, but someone's still got to make that connection to the pipework, and more often than not, that's the electrician. So you can see, for obvious reasons, it really makes sense to know how to do that. So, some expectations. Now, we have high standards in electrical, and we always say that. Okay, so obviously you'll get the full details during enrolment, and induction day is all about discussing what sort of things we expect from our learners. Okay, we do obviously expect attendance and punctuality. Now, that's right across the college, or any college really. You're going to expect good attendance and punctuality. Now, we are very supportive in that way. Okay, so if there's perhaps a reason, Linda was saying before about our safeguarding policy, we can try and support in that, but the courses, as challenging as they are, they do require commitment and good attendance to achieve. Okay, we do expect our learners to arrive prepared with the correct equipment. Now, we're not expecting you to buy, thousands of pounds worth of tools or anything. It's basic things, the same as what you would use in school. So, pens, pencils, maybe a workbook, that sort of thing. Okay, level twos in particular are expected to purchase and bring a textbook to every lesson. Now, I won't go in detail about that now because there's a possibility it may get updated or whatever between now and then, so I don't want everyone rushing out and buying it. But you're looking to spend somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds for that book. Now, if that's going to be anything of a concern, then we can speak to our finance department, and there's some possibilities there sometimes, of things like bursaries and grants, things like that. Okay. So, in addition to that, I would say if you've got a scientific calculator, okay, still from school, keep hold of that because the chances are you're going to need a scientific calculator as well. So, where can you go after you've done one of these qualifications? Okay, it depends on what course you've done. In the case of level ones, the obvious progression route is you can progress to level 2 the following year. Okay, the thing we say about that is while you're doing level 1 with us, you still need to get your grades up. So if you've got the grade 3 in maths or English, you still need to get that up to a 4 to progress onto level 2. Okay, we still push learners to do that. We always encourage learners to apply for apprenticeships. So if you know anyone, for example, someone in your family or a friend who runs a company and they could take it on, we'd really encourage you to do that. Okay, and something that we do actually now offer as well is a level 3. That's, however, run through our STEM campus in St. Helens. There are limited places, and that's a possible progression route from level 2. Okay, but it is an intense course, and just so I'm not putting any false ideas in anyone's mind, it's not necessarily for everyone. Some people would much prefer to do the apprenticeship route. So from day one, even if you start full time, I would still encourage you to keep your eye out for apprenticeships if that's what you choose to do. Okay, and that's all I've got for you today. So we'll take any questions. And I'll stop screen sharing. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for that, Nathan. That was really interesting. And as Nathan just said, now is the time to ask any questions which you feel after listening to the presentation all about electrical installation. If you have additional questions maybe about construction generally or plumbing, we will try and answer them. Otherwise, we will get back to you from the tutor in that area. Okay, so if you want to type in questions, I can see one already there, which is, has the criteria changed due to COVID? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you can just possibly type in a little bit more information. If you do mean, is the entry criteria to the course changed due to COVID? No, the criteria is the criteria. The difference which COVID will mean to your course is perhaps some change in lessons, things like distancing, etc., which the college will need to bear in mind. But the actual entry criteria to get on the course remains the same. If I haven't answered, yes, that's great. So you've answered that question. So no, the entry criteria which is published, and if you've attended interview and been offered a place, dependent upon your course, your GCSE grades, they still are constant. So does anybody have any other questions which they think they might like to ask? Okay, just in case you do, as I say, if you're thinking it, possibly somebody else is as well, so please don't be backward in asking a question which may be of interest to you. I know lots of people generally ask at open evenings, things like apprenticeships and so on. So like I say, if you want to access that, the best way to do it is via our web pages where there is apprenticeship information there. But a really good way to gain an apprenticeship is by firstly completing one of the full-time courses, because that will upskill you and make you more attractive to a potential employer. Okay, I'm going to pass you over to Nathan to answer the next question, if that's okay.
Okay, so to answer your question, uniforms. Now, typically what we would do is on enrolment day, the lady from Ideal Uniforms would be there and we'd send it over and you get some uniforms. Now, the PPE, so the boots and the work pants would be provided free of charge, and the polo shirts you would have to buy yourself. Now, they're on the order of £10 each, and we recommend people at least try and get a couple of them just so you've got enough to get through in the week. To be honest, we're not quite sure how that's going to work yet. The expectation is we're probably going to do that more on induction. So rather than having a big crowd on enrolment day, we come in for induction and we'll see about getting the uniform sorted then, because obviously with the current situation, we've got to try and avoid big crowds. But yeah, I would expect that you do still need to purchase them, just probably a little bit later than usual.
Okay, great. Just a couple more moments if anybody does have any more questions, but I just wanted to reiterate the real importance that we have your correct email and phone number so we can get in contact about enrolment and what that's going to look like. And for anybody that is applying late, so we can have a conversation with you over the phone. Okay, I have already given my email address. If you have any questions that you want to ask on follow-up when you go away and have a little think about it, so please get in contact directly. That's no problem at all. Oh, we've got one more. Okay. Okay, Nathan, if you'd like to answer that.
Okay, so how many hours are in a college day? So it depends on your timetable. Typically 2 days will be full days, and by full days I mean you'll start at 9 o'clock and end at 4:30. Okay, so that's 2 full days you will typically have. The third day, it depends. So some days it will be you start at 9 and maybe finish around lunchtime, but depending on the timetable, it could be that you start at lunch and end at 4:30. Now, some people prefer one or the other, but it does depend on timetables. That's the way it typically works. I wouldn't like to set that in stone yet. I would say expect to set aside 3 days for it. I think for the level, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. So I think for the level 2, I believe it's Monday to Wednesday. And level 1, I think, is Wednesday to Friday, but please don't make plans on that yet because that is still subject to change, but that's typically the way it works. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, I think that's probably about it. I would just like to, well, 2 things. Firstly, apologise if there is bad sound quality at the minute. We just seem to be, I don't know how far away you all live from this, but we seem to be in the middle of a storm and the rain is banging on every side of the building at the minute. So apologies if the sound quality was a little bit iffy during this at some points. But again, just finally to thank you so much for accessing this webinar. It certainly lets us know that you're very serious about coming to start with us in September. And we look forward very much to meeting you in September or August, if that's when enrolment will be, and starting on the course. Okay, until then, enjoy the rest of your summer and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.